I've got 20 minutes about business in the New World Order. I have got a reassuring lack of visual prompts other than my backdrop, which has worked pretty well so far. So Simon Biltcliffe, founder and chief executive of Webmart, which is a print and marketing and management business. That's what we do in the background. However, I run a Marxist capitalist business. What is this oxymoron, you say, and why is it relevant to business in the New World Order? Well, good job you asked that question, because I can tell you. We've got a really interesting time, as we all know. I'm not going to go through all the kind of thing, but the fast forward we've had is massive. If we were to do this 6 months ago, you'd think it's a cheap shit version of a real exhibition. If we were to go and have a chat with a customer or a range of customers using a vid conference 3 months ago, they'd have thought, why can't you be bothered to see me? And it gives you a massive competitive disadvantage in the negotiation or the relationship, whatever. They think you don't care. That's all gone. In fact, you do care now because you're doing this, because you don't want to see them and put them at risk. And it will be like this forever. It's going to be a pain in the arse going to see customers. So we will be doing a lot more like this. Now, that means that we, dear business leaders in Oxfordshire and beyond, are going to have to become much more digitally savvy than we ever did before. And our businesses are going to have to be much more digitally savvy. I think conservatively, and it is conservative, a 10-year timeline of digital adoption to the new norm has happened in around about a month and a half, where things that were totally unacceptable are now the norm. And that means that we have to reinvent our organizations, our roles, and the roles of our teams. And the value proposition to market, to use all of that kind of wanky marketing speak, is really important. What is it that you're now selling? Now, you're selling to a number of different people, and I will now, through some deft use of the little button on the bottom, share a screen. So what I'm going to do is share with you the approach that we take at Webmart and how you can reinvent yourself in the time that we have got left, the 17 minutes or whatever we've got left. Webmart has always created a different environment because we measure three things. We measure three things throughout the interactions that we have with our people inside our organization and out. We measure first things, the intellectual value we can deliver to these people. Now, that doesn't mean just to our clients, although of course that's what they're buying, but it's to our people as well. So the reskilling of the people, the continual professional development of those people is massively important, and to our suppliers as well, because we harvest insight from the marketplace and we deliver it to them, which helps them to refine their offer to be more successful going forward. So you look at the intellectual first, and then we have the emotional value. How do you make it so much fun that you can? You know, we all have shit times. We all have shit times. But actually, at every trigger point, there is an opportunity to make somebody smile. And smiling is a most amazing thing. If you can get people to smile when they open an envelope, when they get an email, when they get an out of office from you, then these are the touch points that matter. So you're looking at maximize the intellectual value you and your organization creates, and you create for yourself. You're looking at the emotional return that you can create, the maximizing those. And if you've got people who are being maximized intellectually and emotionally, they're enjoying it, people want to deal with people like that. So you get the financial return because people want to trade with you like that. And there's that serendipitous kind of Venn diagram that you see in front of you, which that allows people to be the best that they can be. And you obviously try and design out as many areas of conflict as you possibly can from that. And Webmart is the little bit in the middle. That is our role of facilitating that. But look at that from a slightly wider perspective at an individual level. And this is what you need to do to appeal to the best talent, not the shitheads that you don't need in your business. You're realizing now those people that you don't need in your business. And everybody I'm speaking to, being brutally honest, are going to be downsizing by about 20 to 30% of their team that they furloughed or whatever, is across all sides of businesses, because you see the step change of what we need to do. And there's some people that simply haven't got the intellectual headroom to take that next leap forward, or don't want to. And those people will have to be left behind. And there is a societal issue with that because they need to be retrained. But I'll come on to that in a little bit. But for actually the opportunity for you as a leader is that you need to go into that to give people the opportunity to do that. I'm looking at that because it's on my side, but there for you. So understand them enough to understand what they're good at, understand them well enough to know what they love doing, and redefine their role, wrap their role around them to do those two things, and then pay them as much as you can do within the bounds of your organization. If you have that, you have engaged people, and engaged people are worth 5 unengaged people or marginally engaged people. And the beauty of what is going on in the world, and which I'll come on to now, I have no idea how long I've got left, because I think it's kind of halfway through. Is that you will end up with a thin veneer of great people that are client-facing or supplier-facing, working alongside, who will allow you, thanks mate, who will allow you to be the best organization that you can be. And you're not dragging the anchor of unmotivated people with yesteryear skill set behind, because you simply can't afford to do that. If you can get them into that role, and you can get that relationship with your external partners as well, that is where there is a great opportunity. And that's where we look as a business, as an extrospective business. We're not introspective. Most businesses, it's all about me. It's all about what happens in my box and all the kind of things that I've got that's a challenge, and it's a nightmare. And this person, we spend 80% of our management time managing the 20% of people we shouldn't fucking have in the first place. So now is a fantastic time to get rid of the 20% that you spend your 80% and look out. Look out at the big wide world of the opportunities that you've got to deliver an exceptional new value proposition approach that you could do to the market. Think creatively as to what your core business is, but now in this new world of digitized delivery, you can leverage the people that you've got, the really good people that you've got, better than you've ever done before. If you ever work out why Google and Facebook and all these people can afford astronomical salaries for people, is because they use them really wisely. Their little USP or unique selling point that these people have got of being very good at whatever, they can scale it over millions of users. Well, we can do the same, not perhaps millions, but we can certainly do it over tens of or hundreds of or thousands of users if you have the right people and the right technology behind them to scale the best practice through. And this is where the world that we're coming into in terms of artificial intelligence, machine learning and automation and digitization of the processes is really exciting. Scary, but exciting. From a leadership point of view, this is what you'll need to do. This is the new world order, because you see these wankers out there who are seen as the leaders of the titans of industry from times gone by, and they all get discredited. The Bransons of the world, who, as soon as anything happens, they just go pleading to the government. They're the great, entrepreneurial zeal until they're in the shit because they spent all the money, and then they go, "Oh, can we help out?" Sir Philip Green. How on earth can these people that be seen as successful business people when they put people on 0 hours contract, and then the moment that there is an issue that they have to ask for bailouts or basically don't pay their bills? And so what you'll find is that the kind of people that stand the test of time in this new world, we have got a time of unrivaled transparency. The awful things that are happening in America is only happening because of one thing, because somebody had one of these, a smartphone. And if that hadn't been taped, we wouldn't be having any of this kind of nonsense out there. Now, all it's done is shone transparency on something that is appalling and truly, truly awful thing. But as leaders, what you're going to have to be dealing with is have that authenticity to be the same person when you're in your private as when you're in the public face. You can't have those Voldemort kind of business leaders with a front face and a back face. You've got to be the same person all the way through, because without that, you won't get the trust of your team or your supplier or your customer. And you, as a consequence of that, and if you're doing the right things for the right reason to help as many people as possible, then all of a sudden, tell me how long I've got, Susanna. All of a sudden, it actually is a centripetal force, because people are actually coming to you. And we have that as Webmart. We have a lot of people coming, wanting to have their new role with us because they've heard really good things. And when they're in the inside, it's everything that they thought it would be from the outside. And that honesty, that osmosis of information between the two, outside and inside reality, is going to get ever more porous. So as an organization, you've got to do the right thing for the right reasons and have one version of the truth. Now, I'm just going to move on from that onto one other slide, last slide that I want to share with you all, which is, let me just find the slide, which is here. This is the new world that we are living with now, which is artificial intelligence. I'm very lucky that I got the insight from Oxford Brookes University. I'm on their rather quaintly named Industrial Advisory Board, and Oxford Brookes is a fantastic institution, particularly on the ethical use of AI. But this is something I got actually off a TED talk, which I'll try and find out if anybody wants to see it. But I just a screen grab from it, which is why it's in American. But it does show the range of skills that we need going forward as people. So there's you can see there we've got artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation, whatever you want to call it. But basically, it's automation that learns and improves on its own. So the more data it gets, the better it gets. Obviously, we're in control of it, asterisk, depending on who you believe in the midterm. But it will show you ways to optimize, to tweak in real time. So where in the bottom left, you have got an optimized, repeatable process where compassion isn't needed. And that's as in no human intervention or no human involvement is needed. It will be totally automated. It may not be today, may not be in a year, but you're looking at 3 years, max 5 years, and that will be automated. It has to be. Where on the top right, which I'm hoping as a leader of a business, you're very strong in these areas, because otherwise you're in a bit of a bother, where you need good interpersonal sensitivity and creativity, strategy and insight, those two things together, where you understand you can disseminate and synthesize information that people are giving you in an interpersonally sensitive way, and then overlay that with other creativity and ideas. Computers are really, really terrible at doing that. So this is where, for me, with our staff at Webmart, we need to push their skill set to the max of creative thinking, of innovation, of strategic awareness. And that isn't just our strategy. More importantly, it is our client strategy. What is it that makes people buy off our clients? Why, therefore, would we ask, when we look at them, we've got two things we're looking at: their new client acquisition strategy and their retention strategy. So how do they get more customers, and understanding their value proposition creatively and interpreting it with our skill set, we can deliver significantly better returns than they could do on their own. And then how do we help them keep their customers and get a referral economy, a loyalty scheme, and all that kind of stuff out of it? And the people that we need to communicate that for our new prospects have to be really interpersonally strong and what have you. All of those things are really, really important. Now, some roles will have a blended approach of those, and in which case, in the top left, you'll see we wrap people around a really clever machine. And this is where there is a problem with people who aren't digitally savvy, because you will have an assistant, a digital assistant on all of your roles. And you have to understand how to work in harmony and blended role with automation. And without that, it simply isn't acceptable going forward. And so there's a big reskilling. We, as part of our charitable work, we sponsor a coding academy in a prison. HMP Newhall is the one we were going to open it in April, but it's because of COVID, it's not. It's going to be afterwards. But the point is, like the old Chinese saying, for those, if you give a man a fish, you give him a meal. If you teach a man to fish, you give him a lifetime of meals. And I think these days, digital skills will give somebody a great career going forward. And there's lots of things like Future Learn and stuff, which lots of Khan Academy and Lawrence half dozen that will help teach them. The reskilling is a massive, massive, massive issue with this. And if you haven't got digital skills, then you're going to be left behind, with the rare exception of hairdressers and horticulturalists and landscape gardeners and perhaps people like that use their hands. Outside of that, they all involve humans working alongside machines to a greater or lesser degree, all being replaced by machines. And if you look at the Ocado store that burnt down, the reason that there was nobody injured was the fact that it was all automated. There is a video I can give you of a fully automated warehouse that they do, and that's why Ocado shares with so good, because they just turned up the wick on their robots on the other one that they had, and it worked a treat. Now, this is here and now. This isn't in the future. It's amazingly important to see the speed of change. We've never, in human history, had exponential change. The only thing that we have, like the COVID kind of thing, where they have exponential growth in things like that, which is where we've lost half of the world's populations in plagues and things like that before, but not in our. We're used to incremental. We're used to 45-degree angles of a rate of change. May go up to something like that. When you're in something like Zoom, who've got a 30-fold increase in volume, and have been able to cope with it. Few security issues, get that, but nobody else's business who's watching here could be able to cope with something like that. Now, it's a digital product. Of course, that gives them an advantage, but all products to a greater or lesser degree will have a digital element going forward. And this is where, if you haven't got the skill set within your organization for this new world order, then you're going to be left behind. And, there are lots of third-party add-ins you can use, like, Shopify and things to get your e-com started at very low cost. They had 1 million new stores go up in a week. These are we're not used to those kind of adoption processes. Of course, it's fully automated. Of course, you can't do any other way. But this is the type of example of how the pace of change going forward, and going back to the original things about the agility and the honesty and the transparency, those are the kind of skills that we need going forward. And I can see my brother by another mother has come into the forum now, and so I'm imagining I've run out of time, and I've got to answer a question.
You don't have to answer a question. I wouldn't tell you to do anything, Simon. I'd be in fear of my life if I did that. But no, thank you. Brilliant presentation as usual. Got a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Yep, go for it.
We've got, obviously, you've got posters of Richard Branson and Sir Philip Green adorning the walls of your bathroom. But who?
No, my urinal.
Urinal. Actually, the inside of the urinal, no doubt. And who do you admire as a good example? Sorry, who do you admire as a good example of business leadership?
To be honest, there are some, but you've never heard of them, and this is where it's they haven't really come through to the fore. Cook is one of our customers that we deal with. Posh food places, fantastic organisation. It's a B Corp, which is something we're not a B Corp. We kind of did it anyway, but they were the first in the UK, I think, to become a B Corp. Where
are they based,
really
Simon?
good
Just out of interest.
Sittingbourne in
Okay.
Kent. And if you go on their website, they have a supplier pack which explains about the ethos of them. It's a really good thing to have a look at. And they have an employee pack, which isn't just the usual anodyne bollocks about HR and all this kind of stuff. It's about, how they will really look after you, nurture you, be part of you, be there to support you. I mean, Richer Sounds is another one, a classic one. Julian Richer is what he's done with the Employee Ownership Trust, and did loads of really clever stuff. There's a business book that came out in the 1980s that was really innovative at the time, and I took a lot from that. Like, when the people were in the shops, they give them a free umbrella to go out if it was raining. These kind of things, just really nice things. But I think what
did you have to purchase something those times to get an umbrella, or did you get one anyway?
No, you just if you're there walking out and it's raining and you haven't got any, you're going to get caught out. They'll hand you an umbrella. It's little things like that are the big things in business, I think, nowadays. And we can't compete with the Googles and the Facebooks for the top digitally savvy talent. There's a guy that I know who went to Cambridge to do applied maths. Really nice guy, and was an intern at Webmart. I said, do you want to come back and work at Christmas as well? And he goes, no, Google have paid for me to do that. In the first term, he was picked up, and now he's earning big six-figure salaries at 23 or whatever. Because these are exceptional people, but they're making an exceptional return. The company he's working for now, I won't name the names, but with the algorithmic trading that he's doing, made something like £50 million in a day. Well, if you've got somebody who's that fucking good, who's making that kind of money for you, you can afford to give them quite a lot of money to deliver that. Most organizations can't do that yet, but you've got to work towards a way where you can have a person-free delivery of your service, a mobile-first, person-free delivery of your service, or a part of it that you can do, because that's where you can then have exceptional opportunities and afford to look after your people in the way that you want to look after them.
Brilliant. Thanks, Judy, for that question. Now, that was a very short question. You got quite a long question from Leah, so if we can maybe reverse the answer length, because we're really out of time now. I don't know if you can see the question there, Simon, or you want me to read it out for you?
The problem is that the work culture you speak about, valuing talent and actually rewarding fairly to keep them in your company, is rare. It is indeed. The power is in the employees from the get-go, disposable people. Yeah, totally. What kind of strategy or change the system? Well, to be frank, this is where transparency comes in. It always galls me. People say, this about not paying the right taxes and stuff. All we need to do is use transparency. If you've got transparency, it is the strongest force of good in the world. People don't do the wrong things if they're going to get found out by it. The MPs with their expenses, if they were going to be published anyway, like they are now, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. And people who avoid paying taxes and people who debase the business, the way that they treat people, make it a statutory obligation that they have to get a survey that is published about how their staff are treated in certain parameters and publish it online. It's like a Glassdoor, but mandated. And then you won't get people doing those kind of things. And you say, you have to do a statutory disclosure about your terms and conditions. People don't do that. What percentage of your staff are on 0 hours contract? You don't do that. So let's just get the rule, count the right things, the things that drive the right behaviours. And this is where politics and government is really important, to drive the agenda on something like that, which is why I need to get into politics, because I've had enough of these fuckers that are in there at the moment.
Barnsley MP?
No, I don't want to be an MP.
Okay.
You have to queue up an awful lot, it seems, to be an MP, which is not. I'm not a particularly patient person, but this is where you need to drive the. Politics is an amazing power for good when it's used effectively, and as we see in America, a really, really, really amazingly powerful bad when you've got the wrong person at the top.
Brilliant, top man, brilliant. Simon, great to see you as ever. I'm still very envious of your background, because you defied everybody's advice that we couldn't have backgrounds on hopping, so might create a problem for us now.
Push the boundaries, that's it. Keep pushing all the time. Fabulous.
Take care. Brilliant. Good to see you.